All right. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So today we'll be covering a certain RTP questions on payment of taxes and returns. So we'll begin with the first question. I'd like it to be a more of an interactive class wherein you can answer and we can just move through whatever the provisions are there as then when the question is read. I'll start by reading out the question for you. The first one being Manihar Enterprises, registered in Delhi, is engaged in supply of various goods and services exclusively to government departments, agencies, etc., and persons notified under Section 51. Can anyone here tell me what does Section 51 denote?
Hi, good morning. Ravi Bharadwaj this side. Section 51, as per Section 51 is saying that if any vendor or supplier supply goods to government agencies or government type agency where the 50% stake is a government and public enterprises, okay, kind of government, fully controlled by government. So then the government need to deduct the TDS if the transaction value is more than 2.5 lakh.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. There's one small point which has been missed out. You might want to revisit that. Anybody?
Excluding GST and tax.
It is definitely excluding GST. Yes, rightly put. All right. Okay. And can someone give me what is the corresponding section in the IGST Act? There's a correspond. Yeah.
Section 20 of IGST Act.
Perfect. Perfect. So Section 51 of the CGST Act read along with Section 20 of the IGST Act. It is in relation to services which are provided to certain government agencies. All right. What kind of department are we talking about? It may be a department of central government or state government. It may be a local authority. It may be a governmental agency. Now, government agency normally would mean like Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of, various ministries which the government is holding. It can even be a authority or any body which has been set up by an act or of parliament. Now, can someone give me an example of what could be a body which is set up by an act of parliament? So the entire idea is I want you to picture it well that what kind of entities are we really talking about? So yeah, government department, we have told, we have read and all of it. Yes, it's all right. But again, when we are talking into the intricacies of it, some bit of idea again as to what would be that department, what are we actually looking at?
Municipal corporation?
Municipal corporation, definitely. It is separately covered like local authority, municipal corporation. Now, an authority or board set up by an act of parliament, I might put it, okay, who's the regulator for shares and securities?
SEBI?
Yep. So that is again set up by an act of parliament, put it up. I think the ICAI as well is a body which has been, it is autonomous as such, but it has been set up by an act itself. Now, so all of these departments or any entity in which government is holding more than 51% holding, any society which has been established by the central government or any public sector undertaking. Give me an example of public sector undertaking. Come on.
It's Coal India.
Coal India, perfect. Indian Oil
Corporation.
Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. So now that we have established that in our mind, we have framed that these are the kind of government entities what we are talking about, whom we are dealing with under Section 51. Now, what will be happening here is when me or you as a supplier, when we are providing services or goods to those entities, okay, at that point of time, Section 51 may trigger. All right. Now, when does it really trigger? One, when I am supplying my goods or services, the entire contract value is more than 2,50,000. Again, underline it that it is exceeding 22,50,000. It is not 2,50,000. of course, below is not even included, but even if it is exactly at 2,50,000, it shall not be covered under the TDS provision. The following, and the goods and services which we are referencing here, that should be taxable goods and services. Only on taxable goods and services will the TDS provisions attract. Now that was the point which I had told that it was missed out somewhere. Are we all following on this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So again, continuing, when such these goods or services under a contract is provided to a government department, agency, etc., where the taxable value exceeds 2,50,000 under the contract, then it shall be liable to TDS under section 51. Now, who will be the one deducting TDS?
Government.
Government.
Then
The
they are
department,
releasing the
yeah,
payment.
governmental department will be. So, okay, we will continue the question and we'll just figure out what are they really intending to us. Until now, we have understood that Manyar Enterprises based in Delhi, they are supplying goods and services to governmental department. Okay. Now, it has provided the information relating to the supplies made, their contract values, and the payment due against each of them in the month of October as under. The first one being supply of stationery to fisheries. Okay, so before I proceed, I'll just need to understand what is the question which is given over here. So it is, there are 5 points which are highlighted. Yeah, 5 to 7 points. Particular the total contract value and the payment which is due to them. Just before I'm going through each and every point, I want to understand what the question is referring to. You are required to determine the amount of tax, if any, to be deducted from each of the receivables given above, assuming the rate of CGST, SGST, and IGST as 9%, 9%, and 18% respectively. Okay, I'll only stop over here. So we need to understand the government agency, how much of tax are they going to deduct? All right, we are clear with it. The first point being supply of stationery to Fisheries Department, Kolkata, where the total contract value inclusive of GST is 2,60,000 and the payment due in October is rupees 15,000. Now, who can guide me through this?
Total contract value is 2.6,
Yes.
2.6 lakh, which
Yeah.
means it's including GST. 18% is the rate of GST.
Perfect.
And 18% if we calculate 2,60,000 divided by 118 into 18, then it will less than 2.5. So there's no need to deduct this.
Brilliantly put. Brilliantly put. So this is as simple as it is. Yes, it is a government agency to whom we are providing services. Yes, it looks like our total, the entire value is more than 2,60,000. But in truth, what is happening here is when we are removing the GST component, it is well within the limit. And that's why we do not even look at the aspect of whether, TDS will come or not. No, it's not going to come. All right. Proceeding, supply of car rental services to Municipal Corporation of Delhi for 2,95,000 and the payment due is 20,000 in the month of October. Come on, guys, we can do.
Sir.
Yes, yes, Meera.
Sir, as per section 51, the TDS will be deducted on a single contract only if the contract exceeds rupees 2.5 lakhs.
Yeah.
So here when we calculate, it's it's coming to exact 2.5 lakhs. So since it is not exceeding it, TDS won't be applicable on this one.
Perfect, perfect. I hope all of you have your
Yeah.
calculators handy. The
Yes,
moment you are doing 2,95,000 into 100 by 118, it is going to come exactly at 2,50,000. So this is a point where you will be confused, whether it is like exam or real life or whatever it is. You're going to be confused that, okay, when we are coming to dot that amount, was it exiting? Was it at 2.5 lakh? Again, make it a point, repeat it to yourself. It is 2,50,000 when it is exceeding 2,50,000, only then TDS shall be applicable. All right. Continuing, the next one, I believe there will be some TDS game over here. Supply of a heavy machinery to public sector undertaking located in Uttarakhand. supply of heavy machinery to public sector PSU located in Uttarakhand for the total contract value of 5,90,000 and the payment due in October is 25,000. Now, help me out.
So here when we are calculating, it is the contract value is coming as rupees 5 lakhs.
Yeah.
And so here TDS will be applicable.
All
And
right.
so since this is Uttarakhand and it is an interstate supply, because
Right.
our company is in Delhi, IGST will be applicable here.
Exactly. Perfectly put until now. Again, we'll go a step ahead. How much of the TDS will be deducted by the company?
So it will be 5 lakhs into 2%.
Now here, yeah,
No, sir. I'm so sorry. 25,000 into 2%.
precisely. So how it
Yes.
works out is TDS is to be deducted on the payments being made by the government entity. All right.
Yes.
So the total contract value is well exceeding our limit. So we need to just rest assured whenever I'm making a payment to them, I have to deduct TDS. All right. Now, when I'm making the payment on the payable amount, I shall be deducting TDS and paying it to them. So that's how the rules will go by. So here, for supply of a heavy machinery to PSU located in Uttarakhand, uh, our company, which is located in Delhi, since they are supplying it to Uttarakhand, it is a IGST transaction. At the same time, again, when TDS is being deducted, they'll be deducting 25,000 into 2%, which is 500 rupees worth of IGST as TDS. Are we all following until here?
So I just wanted to ask one thing.
Sure. Yes.
So in this situation, it's like the payment due in October. So how do we
Yeah.
get to know that these figures are inclusive or exclusive of GST? Like we have to assume it is exclusive of GST if it is not mentioned.
Right now, yes, you'll be assuming that it is exclusive of GST. Again, when the last payment is going by, at that point of time, when the GST payment is being made, at that point of time, you will not be deducting any TDS at all.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, but if you want to assume otherwise, again, you will have to make sure you mention that very accurately. The most ideal way is to take it as that 25,000 into 2%, which is exclusive of GST payment is being made. And or in an alternative scenario, you may even see it as inclusive and you may reverse calculate, but be ensure that you are making it a point to write in your comments as well. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. The next one, supply of taxable goods to Delhi office of National Housing Bank, a society established by Government of India under the Societies Registration Act 1860. Now, when we were going through all the list of what is a governmental agency and all of it, statutory body, and again, a society which has been established by the government under the Societies Registration Act. So, first of all, this is an applicable entity, right? Come on, I
Yes, sir.
believe we have a lot of participants. Apart from me, sir, Ravi, we would like other people also to just come up. Okay. So yeah, so TDS might be applicable to the entity. The total contract value is going to be 6,49,000 inclusive of GST. So again, is it? I believe this is well beyond the statutory limit of 2,50,000 for a contract. So TDS, yes, it should be applicable, right? Following?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And the payment due in the month of October is 50,000. Tell me what is the TDS which the said National Housing Bank will be deducting?
So the TDS that would be deducting will be on 50,000, but that is the payment which is due, and
Yeah.
it will be CGST and IGST which is applicable.
Perfect.
So the TDS would be 50,000 into 2%, that is both CGST SGST together, which comes to 1,000 rupees. That is 500 of CGST and 500 rupees of SGST.
Perfect. The way we have to put it out is 50,000 into 1% CGST and 50,000 into 1% SGST, 500, 500 each. So this
Yeah.
has been very correctly put.
Okay.
And since it is within the parameters of Delhi only, we have local authorities and only CGST, SGST will be applicable. All right.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, one point
Yes.
regarding this payment due. It's a due payment or payment released?
Yeah, payment which is going to be released. So here, when they are referring to payment due, it is basically on the payment which is going to be released.
Okay, it's assumed that we are going to release this payment on in the month of October itself.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood. Understood.
Okay. Again, also just a trivia question. Suppose it was somebody else who was supplying it to Delhi. Now, will Delhi? You guys might be aware that it is a union territory.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So why, will it be somebody when they are supplying over there? Shouldn't it be UTGST?
It is with state legislature. Delhi is under state legislature, even though it is
Exactly.
a union
Yes.
territory.
Which other union territory has a state legislature?
Within, I think Goa and this one.
And
So it's
Pondicherry
Goa
also.
is a
J&K.
state.
So,
So
sorry,
it is
sorry. No, sorry.
Jammu and Kashmir and Puducherry.
Yes.
Perfectly put. So yeah, so very near to here. Pondicherry as well has its own legislature, and they also will be having their own CGST, SGST, and not UTGST. Yes, JNK recently also had the same uh, place with legislature. All right, shall we continue?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next one, interior decoration of Andhra Bhavan located in Delhi. Service contract is entered into with the government of Andhra Pradesh, which is registered in Andhra Pradesh only. The total contract value is 12,39,000 and the payment due is completely 12,39,000. Now tell me, what do we take from this question first of all?
So first we have to see whether Andhra Bhavan is covered under the definition of whether it is
Because service contract is being entered with the government of Andhra Pradesh. So first of all, we can just picturize it that government of Andhra Pradesh is a government entity only. The state government or central government, you can take it up. Yeah, state government of Andhra Pradesh. Next.
Okay.
Anything, whatever
Yeah.
you are understanding, I
Yeah.
just want to understand
In
the
this,
question.
in this point, I think I'm not wrong. There is a concept of place of supply.
Yes,
Because the
yes.
location is Delhi
Perfect.
and registered person
I'll
is
break
Andhra
it out
Pradesh.
for you. Brilliantly taken it up, very nicely put. So this point actually covers a proviso to section 51. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll break up the question for you. It is interior decoration services provided to government of Andhra Pradesh. All right. From Delhi, we are providing services to the government of Andhra Pradesh. In our mind, ideally, it should be a IGST transaction. Continuing, of interior decoration of Andhra Bhavan, which is located in Delhi. All right. So the property for which we are doing the interior decoration services, that is well within Delhi only. Okay. Now, section 12 will trigger. What is the place of supply?
Delhi.
So, yeah, correct. It is Delhi. When we are providing any services relating to an immovable property, the POS shall be the place where the property is located. So here, place of supply is well within Delhi. Now, we are in Delhi. The place of supply also is in Delhi only, and the service receiver is in Andhra Pradesh. Now, there is a proviso of section 51 which says that when the service provider and the place of supply is in a different place and the service recipient is in a different state, at that point of time, section 51 will not come in. So even if the entire contract value is 12,39,000, well, including GST, even if we exclude, it will be well above 2,50,000. The proviso so gives that this transaction will not attract any TDS provision because the place of supply and the service provider are in different states. Are we all following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'll just break it down again. Section 51, where we are telling that there are government agency, whenever they are making a payment more than 2,50,000 to us, at that point of time, TDS is to be deducted. But there is a proviso which separately says that when the place of supply and the supplier is in a different state and the service recipient is in a different state, at that point of time, this section shall not apply. Continuing. Supply of printed books and printed postcards to a West Delhi post office out of West Delhi post office. Now, out of the total contract value of 9,72,000, contract value for supply of books, which is exempt under GST, is 7 lakh, and supply of printed postcard, which is taxable under GST, is 2,72,000. So clearly, the total contract value is 9,72,000, and the payment due in the month of October is 50,000 for books and 20,000 for printed postcards. I'm breaking it up. The total contract value is 9,72,000, out of which 7 lakh is for books, which is exempt, and 2,72,000 for postcards, which is not exempt, taxable. So tell me, first of all, will the provisions of Section 51 attract?
First, we need to deduct the exempted goods
Mhm.
from the total value, which is 9.72. If we
Mhm.
reduce, then our net value will be 2.72, which
Yep.
if we remove on that GST part, then the total value will be less than 2.5.
Okay. I'm more than glad for whoever is, again. I'm more than glad that you participate and be wrong, because this is the point where you'll remember it in exam. Here, the crux is when you are seeing the eligibility amount, the eligibility, whether it should be tax should be deducted or not. At that point of time, you have to include both the exempt supply and the taxable supply.
Oh,
So I am going to see 9,72,000 on a holistic basis. So first of all, it is established that it is more than 2,50,000. The entire contract value is more than 2,50,000. Then the crux is TDS is to be deducted on the amount which on taxable goods or supplies only. So when I'm going to deduct the TDS, at that point of time, it is not going to be on 50,000, but it is definitely going to be deducted on the 20,000 component. Are we following?
yeah.
Perfect. So I think, see, the entire beauty, why I love when students actually make mistakes in classes is here exam you are going to remember it. At that point of time, okay, yeah, this is something what I've seen. So again, repeating it, the total contract value is 9,72,000. Suppose out of that 9,60,000 is books, which is exempt, and only 12,000 is postcards. Even then, we will be looking at the total value of the contract, which is exceeding 2,50,000, and that's why TDS provisions is supposed to be applicable. Now, on what amount will TDS be deducted? That is on the taxable value of goods and services. So on the remainder amount for which you are going to make that payment. In the last example, 12,000, or in the given example before you, on 20,000 payment which is to be made, on that TDS shall be deducted. Are we all following?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Now again, what will the TDS amount be?
20,000 into 2%.
I'll need the correct answer. Whenever we are telling it, we are supposed to tell clearly. It is it's in supplying to West Delhi only. It is within
Oh,
the state, and it is going to be 20,000 into 1% CGST and 20,000 into 1% SGST. Yes, make it a point that whenever you're talking, no, let us not talk in GST or vague terms like output or whatever it is. We need to ensure that we are saying that 1% out. Here there is no input concept at all, but otherwise that output CGST, output SGST, or output IGST. That way we will practice it, and that's what we are going to write in our exam, and that will make a lot of difference. Every inch is going to count on that. So it is going to be 20,000 into 1% CGST, that is 200 rupees of CGST, and 20,000 into 1% SGST, that is 200 rupees SGST, which is supposed to be deducted from the set payment. Continuing, maintenance of street lights. Maintenance of street lights in municipal area of East Delhi. Okay. The maintenance contract entered into with the Municipal Corporation of Delhi also involves replacement of defunct lights and other spares. However, the value of supply of goods is not more than 25% of the value of the composite supply. Okay. again, it has been given the municipal corporation, whatever municipal area of East Delhi is an activity in relation to any function interested to a municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution. The total contract value is 3,50,000 and the total payment is due in October. Now, what are the takeaways over here? First of all, it is a municipal corporation, so it is well within whatever we say. 51 is definitely applicable. Just as a highlight, in the start itself, it was given that like exclusively they are provided to government department agencies and persons notified under 51. But even so, when we are reading the question, also that has to come in mind. So, yeah. So we are supplying to a person who is for whom section 51 should be applicable. Now, what are you going to take away from the remainder of the question? Is it a supply of goods or services? Firstly,
Supply of
Services, sir.
service.
services. Why?
So because it is maintenance of street lights, so
Perfect. But
this
here,
is
it's, yeah, it is maintenance of street light, but and involving also goods. But the core point now, what is composite supply? Can we just revisit to that bit first? Composite supply.
Where, sir, any vendor is supplying mainly matlab our agreement or whatever the service is basically here replacement of the street light, which
Correct.
that is the reason it's a composite supply, replacement or repair, which means the contractor need to install the light or tube lights for the particular location. For that, it's a basically replacement or repairing of the street light.
Correct. So first, let us just bring it that composite supply is basically going to mean that there is at least more than one supply. When
Yes.
two or more supplies are being made, okay, out of which one of them is a principal supply.
Yes.
Okay, one of them is a principal supply. Now here when we are seeing, they have been given a task of maintenance of street light and they have to change up defunct lights and all. So here definitely we cannot say that changing lights is the core activity which is being carried out, because they have been appointed for something else. All right, and
Yeah.
this activity of involving goods and all, that is less than 25%. So the principal supply here is maintenance of street lights. Taking that into account, now we know first of all it is a composite supply. It is supply of services of maintenance of street lights. All right, now tell me what else will be the trigger point here. And what will be the, like, will GST be applicable? TDS will be applicable or not, guys?
No idea. I think yes, TDS will be applicable.
Okay, on first prima facie look, yes, probably it should be. But here, immediately when we are reading all of this, okay, maintenance of streetlight for municipal corporation to whom which is function is interested under Article 243W. Okay, and then we are reading composite value of supply, where goods is not more than 25% of the value, the entire value. The exemption chapter should trigger. Now, all of this entire activity, when a composite supply is provided to a municipal corporation, where the supply of goods is not more than 25% of the entire contract, is specifically exempt under GST. If you go through the exemption chapter, you will find this is the specific point which is given, and it is completely exempt under GST. All right. So the total contract value inclusive of GST of 0 rupees is 3,50,000. While it is well above 2,50,000 limit, there will not be any amount of GST at all, nor TDS, which shall be involved, because it is an exempt supply. TDS, why is it not क्यों नहीं आने वाला है? Is because
GST
3 lakh, yeah, it is not a taxable value of taxable goods and service. All right. Guys, we are following something different. Yes.
yes, sir.
Yeah. So understand, see, when you are looking at a question like these, you're not only going to get a reference of section 51 and all, you are going to be tested in various other chapters as well. So this is something taken well from the depth of exemption chapter, uh, where a composite supply, in which cases it shall be exempted. Now, continuing. Oh, we're done. You're required to determine the amount of tax, if any, to be deducted from each of the receivable given above, assuming the rate of TGST, SGST, and IGST at 9, 9, and 18% respectively. Now, will your answer be different if Moneyher Enterprises is registered under composition scheme? Tell me. Someone new, come on. Give me a wild guess. Be wrong if you should. If
No,
I would insist, yeah.
no,
Sorry.
no difference. I think composite supply or normal supply, if the vendor is supplying to government, the rule will be the same.
Perfectly put. Section 51 says that you are supplying to a government agency, and at that point of time, they are supposed to deduct TDS on taxable value of goods or supply goods and services. It does not matter in what manner are you going to tax it up. The government agency is supposed to deduct GST TDS from you, whether you are registered under normal scheme or under composition scheme. This is well uh, not going to make any difference at all. Now, have we followed it up? Now, shall we look through the solution, guys?
Yes,
I
sir.
think you people have basically solved it all, but yeah, we'll just look at how we can present it and all. So yeah, first we'll go through the section 51. As per section 51, read with section 20 of the IGST Act 2017, and there's a notification number 50/2018 with effect from 1st of October 2018. The following persons are required to deduct CGST at 1% at effective rate of 2% or IGST at 2% from the payment made from, again highlighting, the rate is 1% from the payment made or credited to the supplier. Okay, first we are establishing here, remember we were linking it, the total contract value per TDS nahi, it is from the payment made or credited to the supplier of taxable goods or services or both. So here that person is providing taxable goods or services of both, where the total value of such supply under a contract exceeds rupees 2,50,000. I would catch phrase 3-4 things from here. One, the rate is 2% effective rate. Two, the payment when it is going to be deducted from the payment being made or being credited to the supplier. Three, of taxable goods and services. And four, where the contract exceeds 2,50,000. Four crux point, one section very clearly taking it up. All right. Then which are those persons who are notified? That is a department or establishment of a central government or state government, our Andhra Pradesh state government in our example, a local authority, governmental agencies, or any authority or a board or any body set up by an act of parliament or state legislature, or which is established by any government with 51% or more participation by way of equity or control to carry out any function at all. Railways, come on. Then society established by the central government or the state government or a local authority, which was our municipality and all. Oh, sorry, the other example under Societies Registration Act, that society which was registered by the central government, or a PSU. Now, further, for the purpose of deduction of tax, the value of supply shall be taken as the amount excluding CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST, and GST compensation cess indicated in the invoice. Until here, any doubt in this section, please let me know. If it does no, I'll take your permission and proceed. Now, how are we going to put it out? The answer. See, a methodology where it is going to be least time consuming for you and you can trace it out very well. Okay, we'll put it all under one table. Since in the given case, Moneyher Enterprises is supplying goods and services exclusively to government department agencies and persons notified under Section 51, applicability of TDS provisions on its various receivable is examined below. Okay, number one, supply of stationery to Fisheries Department, Kolkata. Note number one, which is being an interstate supply of goods, supply of stationery to Fisheries Department is subject to IGST at 18%. We know it is being supplied to Kolkata, IGST aana chahiye. Okay, therefore the total value of total taxable supply excluding GST is 2,20,339. 2,60,000 into 100 by 118. Since the total value does not exceed rupees 2,50,000, tax is not required to be deducted. Well put, it was given out by you guys. Okay. The next one was car rental services to Municipal Corporation of Delhi. I think again we will go on the same lines only. Being an intra-state supply of services, supply of car rental services is subject to CGST, SGST, but the total value of taxable supply under the contract is 2,50,000 exactly. Since it does not exceed 2,50,000, tax is not required to be deducted. I hope you are following. So here we have just tried to, bring it out. The supply of car rental services to municipal corporation, the total contract value is 2,95,000. The payment due may be 20,000 as given in the question, but the tax to be deducted shall be nil under CGST. Remember, we cannot put just tax to be deducted under one column itself, GST. No, we have to give it as CGST, SGST, or IGST respectively. All right, guys, presentation will matter. I can tell you easily how you are presenting the answer is going to save 5 to 10 minutes of your time, and that's very important. All right, continuing. The third one was supply of heavy machinery to PSU in Uttarakhand, which was subject to IGST at 18%. Total value of supply was 5 lakh excluding GST, and that's why since the total value exceeds 2,50,000, they are required to deduct tax on the amount of payment which is being made at 25,000 into 2%, which is 500 rupees. And we are bringing it down here. Supply of heavy machinery to PSU at 25,000 into 2% at 500 rupees. All right, guys, you're following?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any doubts at all until now? Please bring it up.
No
No
doubt.
doubt, sir.
Okay. Next one. Intrastate supply to National Housing Bank. Okay. Wherein about 6,49,000 worth of supply was made under the contract. It exceeded the limit of, excluding GST, it is 5,50,000. Since it is more than 2,50,000, and NHB, National Housing Bank, is required to deduct tax at 2%, which is 1% CGST, 1% SGST, of rupees 50,000, which is totally accumulating to 1,000 rupees, which we are giving the split clearly. 50,000 payment payable, on that 500 and 500 tax to be deducted. The next one, the proviso to section 51. It stipulates that, okay, the Andhra example, Andhra government is asking us to do interior decoration services to the Bhavan in Delhi. So the place of supply is Delhi, the supplier is Delhi, and the recipient is in Andhra Pradesh. So what does the proviso say? Stipulates that no tax shall be deducted if the location of supplier and the place of supply is in a state or union territory which is different from the state or union territory of registration of recipient. Section 12(3), which is regarding place of supply, stipulates that place of supply of services in relation to immovable property, including services provided by interior decorators. We are working on the immovable property. So it shall be, the POS shall be the location at which the immovable property is located. Or again, so the place of supply for the interior decoration services was Delhi, well established. Since the location of supplier and place of supply in Delhi is Delhi and recipient is in Andhra Pradesh, no tax is liable to be deducted in the given case. Again, these are trick questions. When you're looking at it, it was actually a question more of place of supply than on 51. So yeah, you had to match it up as well. All right. So here the total supply contract value will be 12,39,000. Payment due will be 12,39,000, but no tax shall be deducted by the government of Andhra Pradesh. The next one, supply of printed books and printed postcards to a West Delhi post office. Okay, I will have, yeah, I will have to defer. Ravi, hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry. Again, I was pointing it out while we had to consider the total value of supply, it was actually the right way that taxable value has to be seen. So since it is 2,50,000, it is it is exceeding 2,50,000.
Yeah.
Within 2,50,000, no tax shall be deducted. I'll revisit this question again. Supply of printed books and printed postcards to a West Delhi post office out of total value of to 9,72,000. Exempt goods is 7 lakhs and taxable supplies is 2,72,000. We are supposed to actually consider only 2,72,000. It was correctly put, and no tax shall be applicable on this. Be it on the 20,000 payment also which is being made, no tax shall be deducted. Guys, again, this is me pointing out. Are we all following, and are we on the same page right here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah. Again, it was a slip out, but yes, whenever we are looking at the entire provision, we have to look at taxable value of goods or supplies only. And that's why, since it is within 2,72,800 by 118, then it is not going to be TDS. It is no TDS is going to be deductible on this.
Okay.
Yeah. Going through it again, if the contract made for both taxable supply and exempted supply, tax shall be deducted only if the taxable supply exceeds 2,50,000. Okay, since it is intra state supply, excluding GST, the value of taxable supply shall be 2,72,000 into 100 by 118, which is 2,30,509. Since it is well within the limit of 2,50,000, no tax is to be deducted. Again, I am re-stressing it. That was a slip up. Yes. Please let me know if there is any doubt on that. On the entire value of 9,72,000, it is going to still be TDS will still not be deducted at all. Are we all following?
Yes, boss.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. Thank you. The last one, if a contract is made for both taxable, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. Composite supply of goods and services in which value of goods constitutes not more than 25% of the value of composite supply. Okay. When it is provided to a look, again, we are referring to the exemption chapter. Composite supply in which value of supply of goods is not more than 25% of the value of that composite supply of the total contract value, when it is given to provided to a local authority by way of activity in relation to any function interested under Article 243W. So basically, whatever is the municipal corporation functions, when in relation to that we are providing a composite supply, and the supply of goods is not more than 25% of the entire supply, then it is exempt from GST. Thus, maintenance of street lights in municipal area of East Delhi involving replacement of defunct lights where the value of supply of goods is not more than 25% of the value is a service exempt from IGST. All in all, it is exempted, and that's why no tax is required to be deducted in the given case. So here, summing up your entire answer, for Manihar Enterprises during the month of October, for the various services it rendered, only on the services given to PSU and to NHB, which is exceeding 2,50,000 of taxable supplies, for that only TDS shall be deducted by the service recipient. For in all other cases, either it's because it is the exempted, or because of the proviso to the section, or because it is below the limit, no tax shall be deducted. Are we all following until here? We are finishing up on the question.
Yeah, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Perfect, perfect. Any doubts at all in this? Any bit at all?
No
Even
doubt,
if
sir.
it is a two types of services under a contract is given, even in that case, you are supposed to calculate on the total taxable supply, not on the entire amount. You can't compare it on the taxable supply. You have to ensure that it is below 2,50,000 or more than 2,50,000. And again, lastly, it is given that tax even if uh, Manihar Enterprises was under composition scheme, the answer will remain unchanged. It was rightly put by you people. Tax will be deducted in all cases where it is required to be deducted under 51, including when the supplier is registered under composition scheme. So with that, I think this question is done. Uh, no doubt, Paka.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So I can cross question all of you guys. Yes,
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
all right, maybe soon. Okay, for now we'll proceed with the next question. Explain the provisions of section 39(9) of the CGST Act 2017 with reference to rectification of returns. Now, who can give me some insight on rectification of returns?
Sir, can I go?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, section 39, I may be wrong, but just
I'll be glad
yeah.
because
And,
I will be sure you won't make any mistake in the exam. Yeah, tell me.
okay, so based on this section 39, it's in case of any rectification, any error happen, so GST is not allowing to rectifying that in that error. We can in the later stage, before filing the final return, we can amend that part.
Okay.
Not, I am not very much sure on this point.
No. You are on the right track. We just need to polish it. Anyone else will like to pitch in? Anybody?
Sir, in case after filing of a return,
Yeah.
the taxpayer feels that if he gets to know that there are some mistakes or some omission or something which is done in the return, then he can rectify the mistakes or the omissions by filing a rectification of return.
No.
Amend the later stage, before
No.
that. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no. That's okay. So I'll just sum it up like what you people are only presenting. I'll just tell you. Okay. First of all, uh, once you have filed a return, GST does not allow you to, change that
Modification.
return as such. It does not allow you to change that return as such. Suppose I filed it for the month of October 2021. I cannot go and change that. But in the subsequent return, whenever I figure out that yes, I made a mistake, in a subsequent return, I may rectify the mistake which was made over at that time. All right.
Yeah.
So remember, I'm telling there's no amendment of that return. I cannot go back and change October's return itself. All right. But in a subsequent return, when I'm figuring out, okay, I made a mistake, I might have omitted it, or I made some, wrong entry was made at all. At that point of time, I can make a rectification, pointing out that yes, I made a mistake and I'm getting it corrected. Think of it like a newspaper. Okay. Today's newspaper, once you've gotten it, there might be some mistake, but they cannot really reissue the newspaper. Tomorrow can they give a entire set of newspaper telling that okay, this is yesterday's after the corrected mistake? Logically it does not happen. But if you ever notice, there'll be a small column in the newspaper in which they'll be saying that okay, this mistake was that made and we are intending to mention it over here. Okay, and we stand corrected over there. All right. So GST returns also you cannot amend, you cannot change the return which was already put. But if there was any error or omission, you may do it with the subsequent return, the rectification bit. All right. But again, it will be subject to any interest. So in the month again for the month of October, I realized there was a mistake in the month of December. When I'll be filing the month of December's return, I realized that I omitted an invoice worth of 1 lakh rupees. Now, when I am paying GST on it, 18,000, I can't just blindly go and pay it off 18,000 and done with it. I'm also supposed to pay interest on the amount which I had missed for the month of October. Are we clear on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now that is one bit of it, that how you can, what you can do in a subsequent month. Now, apart from that, suppose you did not really figure out the mistake. There was a scrutiny, audit, there was enforcement. Department came into your office and found out something and all of it. And after that, in the report, they are telling that these all things were done and asking you to pay the taxes. At that point of time, you cannot go and tell, no, I'll make the changes and then I will give it off. So that is not allowed at all. If the mistake is being found out on account of any audit, scrutiny, enforcement, and all, at that point of time, you cannot make any rectification. You just have to pay it out. Are we clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yes,
is
sir.
point number 2. Now, can I forever make the changes? Like, I know 2018 I made a mistake. Can I rectify it even now?
No.
No, sir.
When can I really rectify? What is the last time for it?
Annual return or September return, whichever is the earlier.
Yes, precisely. Going ahead, it is going to be the due date of oh, I'm sorry, I jumped up. Yeah, it is going to be the due date of furnishing of return for the month of September of the subsequent financial year. Remember, not the current September. ऐसे नहीं कि you should go like October is there and I'm like, okay, September has already passed by. What am I going to do? Or say it's August 2020 and the last time is going to be September 2020. Not really. So at the first we need to see the end of financial year, March. After that, whichever September is coming, okay, the due date of filing returns for that month. So generally it would be say like okay, 20th of on a general scale, if we go 20th of October, by that date you can rectify whatever data was there, all right, or the date of filing annual return. You're supposed to file annual return, whichever is earlier. Suppose you have filed your annual return on 31st of July itself, you cannot go back and rectify it, the invoice for the previous year. Are we following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So again, understand the partiality. For April 2020, I can make a rectification till September 2021. But for March 2021, I can make a rectification only until September 2021. That's a stop time gap we get for that. All right. So 3 points you've learned. You cannot change the return. Okay. You can make a rectification in the subsequent return whenever you are filing the same. But you cannot do it when it has been coming out of audit scrutiny and all of it. And at the same time, the last time, even if it is on your own account, you are yourself realizing the mistake and you are making the correction, at that point of time also you can only do it up to the month when your due date of filing return for the month of September, or annual return filing of date of filing of annual return, whichever is earlier. What is the due date of filing annual return generally? December 31st.
31st December.
Come on, yes. No half bit answers. Come on.
Yeah.
Reading through, as per section 39 of the CGST Act 2017, if any registered person after furnishing a return discovers any omission or incorrect particulars therein, he shall rectify such omission or incorrect particulars in the return to be furnished for the month during which such omission or incorrect particulars are noticed. There's a lot of English over here. Basically, they're just telling you can rectify it only in the month whenever you are finding out the error, subject to the payment of interest. However, section 39(9) does not permit rectification of error or omission discovered on account of scrutiny, audit, inspection, or enforcement activities by the tax authorities. Remember, it's the department coming and telling you, okay, you made this error, and you'll be like, okay, I'll go home and just rectify it. No, boss, no, that you can't. All right. Further, no such rectification of any omission or incorrect particulars shall be allowed after the due date of furnishing of return for the month of September following the end of the financial year, or the actual date of furnishing of relevant annual return, whichever is earlier. Any doubts here at all?
So just no doubt in this question, just I need to check. Suppose there is a typo error by SSC side, and that error will impact of that error is extra text. SSC paid extra text, and within the like next month, some audit happened, and in that audit they identify this is the issue, or suppose you have to pay only 50,000 on that transaction, but by mistake you pay 5 lakh rupees. it's a hypothetical example. And in that case, is it allow, or that is also be considered as this is identified by the during the course of audit or scrutiny, that rectification will not be allowed?
See, I'll tell you again. Yes, it is not allowed. See, uh, liability of one
Mhm.
would be input of another.
Yes.
So instead of 5,000, you would have paid 5 lakh rupees, 50,000, you would have paid 5 lakh rupees, all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The other person also would have taken input on that,
Yes.
correct? Whom you are supplying, they would have taken input. When the government department is going through and they are like, you issued a wrong invoice, they might say, Ki, just to boost your sales, you have issued a wrong invoice. It should have been only 50,000 and you have issued it. At that point of time, if you are rectifying it, okay, not only you are claiming back tax, the other person input also is going to be affected, and all of that is going to happen.
Okay. And in case, suppose this is the output liability, and if there is an input liability, in spite of there is a provision in which whatever the
In which we have
declared,
claimed less of input
yes, less of input.
rather than that.
Yeah.
Again, it's only when see a government whenever scrutiny audit and all, when they are issuing a notice, it's based on their findings only,
Okay.
because they believe that some wrong has happened over there.
Okay.
And when that is happening, after when they have pointed that out, you cannot, whether it is even if you are paid excess, you cannot get it back and change it. You are
Okay.
not allowed to do that at all.
Okay. Because like during the audit, they found that we paid a less tax, and then it is allowed. We need to pay extra tax.
Oh, definitely. So if you're paid less, you can close your eyes and tell that the government is going to take it with interest.
So
But
can
again,
we?
when you want to collect it back from government, that's not going to be an easy task.
Okay, but that's not a correct way, because whatever the finding, we need to account for that so that it will be correct.
See,
Audit.
again, that means either you have misappropriated your purchases or sales data. Either way.
Okay. Understood.
Okay, so when you are so maybe like if a government department is doing it, they wouldn't do it simply.
Mhm.
They're not going to come to you and knock on your door and simply issue you a notice that, yeah, you did not do this or you did not do that. Okay, they there will be an understanding, either you are excessively showing your purchases, or you are excessively showing your sales, or whatever it is. This should not have been wrongly put up by you. At that point of time, they are going to determine that, okay, this extra tax should be payable. Okay, that is one part of it. They may even realize that, okay, you have paid less tax. No, sorry, you paid more tax than you should have.
Yeah.
Now, when more is given, they are not going to give it back, because there is some error on your part which they scrutinized and they figured it out.
Okay, and if we consider this way, suppose we paid a 1,000 rupees extra, and same time they identify there is another transaction in which 500 rupees we pay, 1,500 rupees we pay less. So net effect somewhere we need to pay. If we consider the net, we need to pay government extra 500 rupees. If we consider single only the error part of the SSC's tax liability, which is 1,500 rupees. So suppose we need to pay 1,500 rupees, okay, in one transaction. And
So
there is another transaction in which we take less credit of
reduce
1,000.
the 1,000 you're telling me.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, this is purely going to depend on what the government department's report is going to be.
Okay.
So again, if they on a more appropriate, on a normal scale basis, probably they might not give that the benefit of the excess which was paid. But again, it really honestly depends on what you have submitted to them and what the report actually says.
So my point is
if
that
they are taking into account that yes, you have paid extra and for one transaction and you have paid less for another transaction, there you can set it off. If they are admitting it and they are putting it across.
what is the law? Law is saying, law, it's based on law or based on their discretion only?
See, and the law is very clear that
Okay.
you cannot, rectify after when that error is being discovered under the audit and all that. All right. So if they have figured out that there is a problem and that you have done something wrong. See, when I'm telling you scrutiny, audit, inspection, and enforcement, These are not normal scale, normal small errors which the government department is pointing out.
Understood.
If they are putting out, that means they are just going to showcase that you have made certain mistakes which was bona fide probably. At that point of time, again, if they are admitting it that the mistakes, the mistake was bona fide, and they are allowing okay, that adjustment can be carried out, then okay, well and good. But generally, what this section 39(9) normally refers to is that because the department came and told you that there was this mistake, because of which less tax was payable, you cannot go and rectify it and tell no, okay, now I'll reduce my tax liability.
So we will not able to reduce that earlier tax liability, but suppose there is a refund, like in case of assessment in last year, if we go to customs and some tax GST department, we put up our
your output is already determined.
Okay.
It is determined that you have declared it that much. At that point of time, it is not going to be like, okay, no, I did not supply this.
Yes, yes.
The next question is going to be, if you did not supply, how did the invoice even go?
Correct.
And the moment you are telling it, that means you are inflating your sales for whatever reason. It could be anything at all.
Correct.
Right? Maybe there is somebody else who's getting benefit out of it. So that's again related party, and then that will also come under the loop.
Correct.
Okay, so it is all going to be connected. At the end of it, generally, it is not going to be a case where it is going to be refunded. That is not going to be a case. Case of adjustment will be basis on how the genuinity of the transaction.
Understood.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Just to carry you again through it, that if you are yourself identifying a mistake and then you are making the correction, then at that point of time, you may pay if there is an excess amount payable, you may pay the interest and you may rectify it. If you have paid already excessively, you can rectify it in the subsequent one whenever you are identifying the mistake. But again, no rectification will be allowed after the due date of furnishing of return for the month of September of the subsequent year, or the date of furnishing of annual return, whichever is earlier. Any further doubts on this at all? See, this is actually really relevant to you on a practical basis. When you are on the ground of it, you will be realizing that when you're furnishing return, the mistakes happen. We're all human. Okay, some of the other thing happens, and at that point of time, you cannot really go back and revisit. But yeah, there is an option of rectification available to you. So you are supposed to take use of it, and the timeline has to be noted. Whenever we ideally we want to complete all the GST comparison and all of that and finish it well before September, so that any rectification can be carried out. So yeah, on a practical basis, this is actually relevant. If no doubt, should I proceed?
Yes, sir. From my side.
Okay, I'll continue. I'll take it from the class. We leave the last question. Padmavati traders registered in Karnataka engaged in supply of taxable goods. Its turnover in the preceding financial year was 230 lakhs and it was furnishing its GST return on a monthly basis. Okay, 2.3 crores on a monthly basis. In the beginning of April month in the current financial year, it sought advice from its tax consultant, Dua consultant, whether it can furnish its GST returns on a quarterly basis from now onwards. Okay, quarterly basis they wanted to file returns. Dua consultants advised Padmavati traders that it cannot furnish its return on a quarterly basis as the GST law does not provide for quarterly return under any circumstances. Discuss the technical veracity of the advice given by Dua consultant. How many of you go by the advice of Dua consultant? How many of you say, no, I'm not part of that team? Tell me, guys.
Yes. So this is a basically concept of quarterly return and monthly payment concept, in which the SSC can file a quarterly return.
First of all, I want the all of you to just give me a hint that how many of you are telling that yes, they are right by saying that this is a quarterly return is not applicable for them, and how many of you are telling that no, no, okay, how many are telling it Dua consultants right or wrong? That's all I want to know.
So Dua consultants is wrong, sir.
Okay, okay, perfect.
Yes, sir.
Others?
I am also equal with this point.
Yes, okay. Others? Anybody who says ki no, they might be on the right, you know, right way. There's 1% possibility ki haan, they're right in what they're saying. Nope. Okay, fine. We'll continue. Yeah, yeah. You were talking about quarterly return monthly payment. Yes.
Yeah, boss. So in this case, last year, yani, I am not exactly.
Okay, I'll then allow me to just bring it
Yeah,
out. So on 1st of January 2021, first of all, yes, Dua consultant is wrong in the advice which they have given. So from 1st of January 2021, the government brought in a new change of, as you put it, QRMP scheme, quarterly return monthly payment scheme. Under that, any assessee whose turnover is less than 5 crore rupees, 5 crore rupees, less than that, then they are allowed a scheme where they can file their returns on a quarterly basis, subject to payment of GST on a monthly basis. All right. So what the normally when so first of all you should have a turnover within the limit stipulated, and after that you are still required to make the payment on a monthly ongoing basis. If you have done that properly, you are very well following the GST law. So anything else which you'd like to add on or doubts on it, or should it?
no, sir. It's only for all the taxpayer whose turnover is less than 5 crore.
Yeah.
So this part is, I think, not available in our recording session.
Probably. Again, that's okay. That's the entire point of it.
Because
We'll have more of it.
I need to bit more clarification regarding the fixed payment because I read it in my book provided by the in which two part I need to clarify regarding the fixed payment scheme and the variable payment scheme.
Okay.
After this question, you can clarify this.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do it. Yeah. So yeah, just anybody else apart from that? Come on, guys. Come on, come on. A little bit of. Anyway, so no, the advice given by Dua consultants is not valid in law. It effect from 1st of January 2021. A quarterly return has been introduced under the GST law, where the payment of tax is to be made on a monthly basis. They make the payment on a monthly basis, say about 25th of every month. The scheme is known as Quarterly Return Monthly Payment Scheme. The scheme, why was it introduced, was so that small taxpayer may not find it very difficult, to, again, it was a hassle. Every month, 11th and 20th, you're just pulling it out. So they wanted to ease them out. So for that, they brought in this scheme so that you can focus more on your trade rather than a lot on compliance. So it was introduced as a trade facilitation measure and in order to further ease of process of doing business. It is optional. Less than 5 crore is not mandatory at all. It is optional that for you to get into this scheme for taxpayers having aggregate annual turnover of up to 5 crore in the current and preceding financial year. Okay. Now, when I'm telling 5 crore limit, I am having an entity in Tamil Nadu, another entity in Karnataka, another in Delhi. The turnover total is 2 crores each places under my same PAN. Now, am I eligible for the QRMP scheme or am I not?
Yes, sir. I am eligible because this basically facility is based on the GST. Okay, if particular GST registration is that party, yeah, that client is having but in a specific GST number, whether the total value turnover is more than 5 crore or not.
Okay. Anybody else would like to pitch in as well? guys?
Sir, no, sir, because it is given that aggregate annual turnover based on PAN.
Perfect,
So,
Karthikeyan. So how it works out is that I'll tell you what Ravi actually meant and what is Karthikeyan bringing out. The two aspect of it is that QRMP scheme is available to you only if your annual turnover for the previous year was less than 5 crore, up to 5 crore rupees. Okay. When I'm talking about annual turnover, then I need to see for the entire, all the registration together. Okay. For that PAN should be less than 2 crore rupees. Then I am eligible for QRMP scheme or not. So here in my example, I had 2 crore in Tamil Nadu, 2 crore in Karnataka, and 2 crore in Delhi, totaling to 6 crore rupees. I am not eligible for QRMP scheme. For example, now the same scenario, the total was actually 111 crore each. 1 crore in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Delhi each. The total would have come to 3 crore rupees. I am eligible for QRMP scheme, but then it is not mandatory for me to adopt QRMP in all the three states. I can take the option that in Tamil Nadu, I'll fall under QRMP scheme. In Karnataka, I would prefer to go by the normal scheme itself, monthly filing. And in Delhi, again, I might want to take QRMP or monthly filing. So your eligibility is based on PAN across India turnover, but your option is state GSTN wise. Are we following?
Yeah. Now it's clear.
So again, repeating it, whenever you are seeing eligibility, majority of whatever is there in GST, whenever you are seeing it, you are normally going, I'll not say exclusively, but yeah, majority of the places, it is your entire turnover for the pan India basis. All right. Now, QRMP scheme is beneficial in a manner where you may take the scheme in one place separately, in one state separately, and another state you might take in a different angle. All right. Just adding on to it, there is one another what about composition scheme? What happens over there? There's an element in composition scheme which is different. Tell me what. Right?
In composition scheme, the taxpayer need to file quarterly return. That's fine. And
No. I'm talking about this bit of it only. The last bit of it. So composition scheme. Okay, I'll just fill you in. In composition scheme, you cannot choose that one state I'll take composition scheme, another scheme I'll go regular scheme and all. You're not allowed. If you are taking composition scheme in one state, you're supposed to do it everywhere.
Yes.
If you're doing normal scheme, then you cannot take composition scheme anywhere else. Are we all following?
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes, sir.
Not
Yes,
to mix
sir.
you up.
Yes.
QRMP, you get the benefit that you can take this opt for quarterly payment, quarterly returns in one state and monthly returns in another state. It's up to you. Okay. So, but when you're seeing eligibility, you'll have to see the aggregate PAN turnover across on a PAN India basis. Now, how does it work out? They may file their GSTR1 and GSTR3B on a quarterly basis, but their tax has to be paid on a monthly basis through one challan. So that way, only for GSTR3B, GSTR1 they'll be filing. There's also an invoice furnishing facility, invoice filing facility. Now, IFF. So what happens is recently with all whoever is tracking the right current amendments at all, recently the government of India pointed out that it was brought in that you can only claim input basis GSTR 2B. So 2B, what happens is, where does 2B data come? Me as a supplier, I'm giving out certain goods to Ravi. Now, I will be furnishing the invoice on the GST portal under GSTR 1. That invoice will be reflecting in his GSTR 2B. And the government has mandated that you can only claim what is given in GSTR 2B. If it is not reflecting over there, you cannot claim it. Now, Given all of this, in this kind of scenario, what happens is if I have not filed the return at all, Ravi will not even be able to take the input credit at all. Guys, what I'm doing is I'm telling you why is invoice filing facility relevant. All right, I'm just coming. How am I getting to there? Now I am on a monthly scheme and I'll be filing my returns, and Ravi can very well take input every month. All right. Now, by any stroke of chance, 1 month I forget, I miss out. I do not file the invoice which I had sent out to Ravi. That means, as per law, I am not. Ravi is not allowed to take input on that as well. All right. What will happen whenever I am filing that invoice? Only then he can claim it. Suppose I am in a quarterly return scheme and I will be filing my GSTR1 on a quarterly basis only, correct?
Yeah.
So at that point of time, some vendor, say Ravi again, he would have bought some goods from me. But I am going to just say, ki, boss, my return is going to be filed only after 3 months. At that point of time, it will reflect in your ledger and all of it. The government said, ki, so you may, as well, I will say, ki you may claim it off. At that time, it will reflect. The government says no. For quarterly return persons also, we are bringing it a invoice filing facility, in which when you are supplying to a registered person every month, file those invoices which they should be ideally taking input from. If you are filing it, you're not filing basically a GSTR1 return, but you're giving in a invoice filing facility. You are giving that particulars what you have supplied to the registered person, so that that person will be able to take the input, because he can see that you have filed your returns correctly. Are we following?
Yes, sir.
There might be some
Yes,
kind
sir.
of mix up. Please don't hesitate to ask. I'm just bringing it up. Why is it relevant and important? Okay. So they would be required, ideally under QRMP scheme, you are filing only quarterly returns while you will be making a monthly payment. But there is also an invoice filing facility wherein you may give in details of invoices which you have furnished to registered suppliers. Again, the last one, opting of QRMP scheme is GSTN wise. Again, opting of QRMP scheme is GSTN wise. Distinct persons can avail QRMP scheme option for one or more GSTN. It implies that some GSTN for a PAN can offer QRMP and remaining may not offer the said scheme. Since the aggregate turnover, again Ravi pointing out
Yeah.
here, since the aggregate turnover of Padmavati does not exceed 5 crore, it is eligible for furnishing the return on quarterly basis till the time its turnover in current financial year does not exceed 5 crore rupees. You may compare it with the last year, but current financial year also turnover should not exceed 5 crore rupees. The moment it crosses 5 crore rupees, suppose it crossed in the month of October. At that point of time, I can't go back. But the moment the quarter is ending, from January, I'll have to go in the regular scheme. So, uh, in case its aggregate turnover crosses 5 crore during a quarter in the current financial year, it shall no longer be eligible for furnishing of return on a quarterly basis from the first month of the succeeding quarter. You cannot immediately, you cannot in between of the months, you cannot change it up. So in the succeeding quarter, and will have to opt for furnishing the return on a monthly basis. All right. On the month of the quarter succeeding the quarter during the aggregate turnover exceeded 5 crore rupees. Any doubts on this? Like until now, what I've taken? Any doubts at all?
No,
QRMP
sir.
scheme, monthly scheme, blah blah blah, anything at all?
No, sir. No doubt.